And good morning. Off into the woods again. Week 27, day 3. So 3 for 3 so far this week. It's always good. I feel like I'm getting back into my stride a bit more. Need to do some more exercise. It's a lovely autumn morning. It's October the 23rd-ish. 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, yep. And I'm out in the woods with the birds and the forest animals. Slightly less muddy today. Didn't rain yesterday. Amazingly for Manchester, it's like 3 days in a row without rain. It's about 9:30 a.m, which is pretty good. Managed to get out of bed at 8:30. Sort out all my stuff for work later on this evening, and we're good. So I've been sent some cool stuff. I have been sent some images from Slough down in Northampton, and I've been sent a lot of media by Harlequin. I can't really include that, but he did send me a link to a discussion about fully automated space communism, which was interesting. So I thoroughly recommend you look to it. It was invented by a chap, and it's now become the term for like a utopian ideal. And then Zoo Echoes sent me Utopia for Realists, or a link to it on YouTube. So I shall try and include those links underneath this video. Yeah. So we're barreling towards a no-deal Brexit as we speak. I suppose that only really affects people in the UK, but it could end up affecting people in Europe and the wider world. It's like the wider definition and the wider march of fear-based fascism. Yeah, they called Remain Project Fear, where in fact the whole Brexit thing is all about fear, really. So yeah, so it's pretty depressing. Everything's going to shit. Project Morlock. So yeah. So I think it's time the smarter people at least manage to take responsibility for themselves. So now would be the time, if you live in the UK or in America really. The environment is being hectically abused, and I wouldn't be surprised if that means the ultra rich will be trying to get off planet, or at least get somewhere where the wrath, or is it wrath? I like wrath, of the ordinary people starts to kick in. When will that happen? Well, we're constantly being tutored that we are all imminently rich by the rich. They talk bullshit like trickle-down economics, which is a lie. The extinction of the white race, which is a lie. Yeah. So yeah, wealthy people are lying to us. Headline news, shock horror. And then the people that aren't quite as wealthy are lying to themselves, which is hilarious. Oh, I've actually got some clear ground all the way along there. I wonder what's caused that. Onto our little beach. River's a bit calmer. You can see that weir's still there. That definitely wasn't there a couple of weeks ago. There's rocks being moved downstream. beachy bit. Oh, this is where it would be nice to have some waterproof boots and just wander over there. But yeah, monsters, liars and thieves that are quite happy to let corporations murder millions of people every year. They're quite happy for air pollution to rise to the levels where, you know, you've got 10,000 people a year dying in the UK, as many as 6 million people a year dying as a result of climate change. And sooner or later, so yeah, sorry Chipko, I'm still amazed and confused. I don't understand. Perhaps I just can't get into the mindset of the super rich. Maybe I need to interview one. Maybe I need to interview someone like Jeff Bezos. I'm sorry dude, I don't understand. So, if Jeff Bezos is plugged into the internet and is sifting through, yeah, I'll interview you, mate. I don't understand. I just don't. I don't understand. So in the absence of that understanding, you know, it behooves people that can see, and I'm not just talking about people that subscribe to or watch this channel or drop into it or find it by accident. You know, I'm not talking about the 30 odd people that subscribe to this channel, although, you know, it's cool. It's getting pretty diverse, actually. I know of at least 2 women that are subscribed, so that's good. More please. And if you are a woman and you are getting something out of this, or you are of a significantly different racial demographic to mine, it sure would help if you shot some video and sent it along. You know, although diversity has become a pretty ugly word recently in the mouths of fascists and misogynists and homophobes, I really could do with some, you know, could really do with some footage. Because for this sort of thing, I am the worst demographic. Weirdly, one of the smallest demographics. If you think about it, the majority of the world's population is Asian, or people other than white. That would make a good acronym. POW! That would just be awesome. I really love that. Because white people are not the majority. They're just not. You know? Easily outnumbered by people of colour. You know, so easily it's not even funny. I mean, that's what breeds into the, you know, the paranoia that powerful white people have. You know, I realise I've got a certain amount of white male privilege, but I'm significantly down the pecking order, and I do my best not to let those things affect who I talk to and how I talk to them and how I communicate, but I'm aware it's there. That's because white people be terrified. If you've ever seen Fahrenheit 9/11, if not, go and watch it. It's a brilliant movie. There is a wonderful animation by Matt Parker and Trey Stone about paranoid white people with guns. And yeah, it's pretty amazing. And if you know, and culture is changing. You know, people have tried to massively pan Batwoman because there are people of colour and women being represented as superheroes and stuff, which is just bloody great. You know, excellent, good. You know, the purpose of a mythological hero is to inspire people. You know, and it's hard to be inspired by someone that doesn't look like you. I want people to be inspired. I want people to reach for greatness. Oh, it is a lovely morning. There you go. I can be thankful for one thing this morning. Brexit rolls on, but I can at least get out into the woods and see this. It's bloody lovely. The land of my forefathers, or probably not. My family tree's quite tangled. You know, got some relatives, you know, not too distant that are Jewish, got some relatives not too distant that are Northern Canadian, probably got some North African relatives and stuff like that. People from the Middle East. Yeah. Quite how I ended up with my mutant features is, you know, because white skin and blue eyes is a mutation. It's a deviation from the original pattern. We know for a fact humans came out of the Rift Valley in Africa first. So, you know, your base, your default human being is a black woman. You know, that's your starter point. You know, women are in a majority on planet Earth. Well, that's an interesting statistic. Women are at least 51.5% of the population of the planet. So you think women would be in control? They decide an awful lot of stuff. You know, why isn't that the default? You know, and probably, you know, black, you know, women of colour are probably the largest demographic on the entire planet. So why does the default always seem to be white male? That's really weird. I mean, I don't know the actual percentages, but I seem to recall that women are 51% and white people are in a minority. I just think they got on the invention curve a little bit faster because of more adverse conditions. If you've got adverse conditions, people invent stuff a bit faster to make life better. You know, they get hold of fire, metallurgy, all kinds of stuff, just a little bit ahead of people who live in a paradise. You know, I would argue that the people that live in a paradise and have learned to exist within that paradise and then didn't have to invent anything else because their lives were okay are probably the smarter people. Only stupid people move out of paradise. You've got to be fairly stupid to be somewhere as abundant with life as the tropics and then go, no, we want to move north where it's cold and there are animals that can eat us, you know, for fun. You know, we are indeed crunchy beings, and we'd like to be around bears and wolves and stuff. You know, we'd like to have the possibility of just dying because it's cold. You know, literally, the wrong temperature will kill you in that sort of technology level. You know, just exposure will just annihilate you, and we want to live there. You know, I don't, you know, imagine when the leader type person finally sort of sets down camp and says, here is where we shall stay. We have decided that here is the best place, and everybody takes one look around and goes, but this is crap. And then I hope they stone that person to death. You know, unfortunately our invention curve takes all the risk out of life, and therefore, you know, more and more people survive. There's no danger, people become arrogant, and we're with the world we have today. I'm not even sure how you begin to address the level of right-wing rhetoric and surrender of the truth that we exist in now. Maybe it needs to go that far for the pendulum to swing the other way. But if you were to generate, I mean, really, we're one or two generations from a war against regimes that, you know, murdered people in their millions because they weren't the same. Just where you were born can be a death sentence. What type of God you believe in can be another. That's why we need some good guys. And I'm trying, just apologies for that being a sort of like kind of a male reference or whatever. You know, but good guys really sums it up better than good people. We need some good guys. There's no one on the planet really that can put on the superhero hat. There's not a nation that can go, oh, we're doing it. Germany's doing pretty well. They're pretty liberal, but that's only a, you know, I think they're more paranoid about fascism because fascism has done the most spiritual damage to them of anybody that we know. You know, I suggest you read a précis of The Banality of Evil, and just understand how easy it is for people to do evil stuff and horrible things if they think they're justified by a greater cause. We can't seem to get our heads around the fact that people are wealth. And I find it difficult sometimes on a personal level. But it's not hard to set up like a state level bare minimum of decency. You know, you're born into a state, right, okay. We've got agreements with other states around the world. We like it when people come to our country and diversify our population and give us new ideas and all sorts of cool stuff. Here is the minimum you can expect worldwide. You know, the big corporations are making gigantic amounts of money off you being alive and working for them and stuff like that. You know, they're making money off the state because the state builds roads and schools and hospitals to maintain the workforce and deliver goods, and maintains a certain amount of security so those businesses can operate. And then do those businesses go, oh yes, we forgot about all the cool stuff that the taxpayers of this country provide. The least we can do is pay into that pot. Do they buggery? They do their very best to avoid paying tax and therefore slowly erode the infrastructure of the countries that they're in. Keen examples of that: Google, Amazon, you know, people like that. Huge companies that, you know, quite sensibly the City of New York realised it would be easier to pay, you know, all the people that Amazon was going to employ in New York, you know, like $15,000 a year. It would actually be cheaper to just give a whole bunch of unemployed people, you know, a subpar wage, which is what Amazon was going to do, than have Amazon be there for the amount of wear and tear on the infrastructure, the amount of costs involved. Oh, look at that. But yeah, so they were pretty sensible. Ooh, now they've got the sun in my eyes. Right, yeah. So the City of New York wisely said no. And I don't think Jeff Bezos gets told no all that often. So yeah, what an interesting world we live in. You know, we need some ideas fast. We need some concept of competent human, and we need some concept of something to work towards. There's money floating around to make those things happen. You know. So yeah. You never hear about atheist compounds though, do you? It's always religious people that need a compound. So what would atheist realists do that wanted to help people? You know, I think that probably the best example, and you can't take the whole example, but the best example of people going, nah, probably the Black Panthers. It was a very interesting group, unfortunately a very destroyable group, but one that certainly scared the piss out of wealthy white people. And that's how you know you're doing it right. You know, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, and then they fight you. That's how that shit goes down. So, can we do the first two? And can we sidestep the last one? Is it possible? There's just too much stuff. But the technology now is just in our grasp. It certainly is in our grasp if you live anywhere in the West. I mean, basically, if you're watching this, you've got an internet connection. If you're watching this, you've got a laptop. If you're watching this, you've probably got enough money to pay your bills, just about even. So, you know, what do humans need to do? I mean, step one, get out of debt. That's what I'm trying to do. Step two, you know, stockpile a little bit. Maybe throw some group money into buying a property somewhere. Doesn't have to be huge. But, you know, how many people would we need to connect to build one example community? for say 5 people. That's pretty, that's pretty realistic. One example, off-grid community that produces all its own resources. So if you're willing to go with just 5 or 10 people, what does it look like for one? And that's kind of phase 3 of urban agoge. And that's our phase 3 moment. How do we do it for one person, or a family? How far off the grid can you go? How secure can you be in not needing it? Because the times are changing. So yeah, I'm hugely enjoying Batwoman at the moment, by the way. It's nice to have, lots of people of different ethnic origins and sexualities, and really redefining what it is to be a superhero, liking it. And Watchmen, which has literally got, female Shaft, if you like, and some really good and interesting superheroes in it. Or heroes, really. Masked vigilantes taking down white supremacy in America, which was great. So I'm loving that. So I hope that progresses. And I know a lot of science fiction fans, ooh, it's all too woke. But tough. Diversity, you need to understand, the people that would complain about that need to understand that bitching about a television program that you could easily not watch if you don't like it is largely rubbish. You don't like it, don't watch it. It's as simple as that. If you're a Star Trek fan, you've got no right to start whining about, the political correctness of any science fiction. If you're a misogynistic Star Trek fan, you've missed the point. If you're a racist Star Trek fan, you've missed the point of Star Trek. That's why I like it so much. It's probably the only super hopeful sci-fi I've ever seen. But unfortunately, it's probably going to end up more like The Expanse, at best. That's if we don't destroy ourselves or wipe out the environment. We don't raise people to wonder how helpful they can be to society. What is it you can do? Can you create? Are you just good at something? Are you an artist? Are you a designer, or a manufacturer, or a scientist, or a teacher? And the thing you've got to realise about relatively intelligent humans is that we're all of those things. Anybody that's been a parent is a teacher. Anybody that's explained something to someone is a teacher. It really is a lovely morning. I'm going to focus on that. Yeah, so you are scientist, teacher, warrior, shaman, wise person, devil's advocate. We're all these things. At our best, we are a multifunction creature. And we've got to understand that we need to tap into that. Sure, there are some people whose output is sporadic, but when it does come together, when it does happen, it's amazing. We can invent almost anything. But yeah, we're useful creatures. Just have to learn how to be useful again. So learn, find out new stuff, and yeah, thanks for watching. Do take care. See you tomorrow.